Hey guys, welcome back to Running and Research. Today, I just want to go over my reflections and advice of how I managed to finally break 20 minutes in the 5K and how I managed to do this off the back of 2 consecutive failures and then to turn that into success all within 10 days. And today I think is a very valuable lesson for any of you who are chasing a goal but just can't seem to break through that plateau, especially on race day, even if you do feel fit enough. So many of you know my main goal this year was to break 20 minutes in the 5K. Now, last year I ran 20 minutes and 54 seconds or so quite a bit off, although it was over a tough route on quite a windy day, so maybe I could have went another 10-20 seconds faster last year. So I've been training really hard. I committed for 6 months, 3-4 runs a week, fought through injury, was really trying to push my pace on the intervals, getting really comfortable running sub 4 minute per kilometer pace, and everything just seemed to be coming together. I did a 3 kilometer time trial in May. I actually got that tip off Cole Running. He recommended to do a fast 3K and a fast 10K leading into your 5K attempt. And I absolutely smashed that 3K. I wanted 350 average per kilometer and I went 349 per kilometer. So I knew then that was the first time I really believed that this is going to happen. I can run sub 4 minute kilometers for 5K if it all comes together. So that was in May. Fast forward 5-6 weeks, I had my brother pacing me for the 5K. I had his partner cycling behind with a camera, everything planned for YouTube. I had my brother on it, my other brother on a bike as well, and I also had a client of mine who was also getting some footage. So I had a team around me, really grateful for them. And my first attempt just really was terrible. It just didn't go to plan. It was super warm. The first kilometer was into a massive headwind, and I really just had to fight from kilometer 1 for 3:59 pace. And from there, it only got worse. So I was going backwards from kilometer 1, and I was only just on pace. After kilometer 2, I was already dropping to 4:02 average. Kilometer 3, I held in there. It was like a 4:04, and kilometer 4 was 4:19. Now, there is a dead zone for the GPS that I run through. It normally it could take 4 or 5 seconds off you. I expected that, but I also expected to be around the 4 flat mark. And I was now looking at my watch and seeing an average of 4:08, and it was just demoralizing. I knew it wasn't going to happen. I trained so hard for this. I managed to run like a 4:03 final kilometer, which all added up to 20 minutes and 25 seconds. And honestly, like, it might sound dramatic, but I was pretty distraught at this. I had trained so hard. I knew I had it in me. And on a day that I chose, it was in my control, it just didn't come together. And it was really difficult for me to accept that, to the point that 3 days later, I ran that on a Saturday, the first attempt. 3 days later, on a Tuesday, when I normally do my intervals, I went to a different park. It's nearly exactly 1 mile around. It's designed for park runs pretty much. There's signposts for distance. 3 laps of it, you've got your 5K, and it's pretty flat. There's a mild, like very mild incline about halfway around. So turned up there, not expecting to do anything. Just wanted to get this pent up frustration out of my system. I knew it was very unlikely that 3 days after I maxed out a 5K that I could then go again and run a good time. However, this time I ran 20 minutes and 11 seconds, so 14 seconds faster. It was a 4:02 average, and from this I learned a lot. So because I wasn't used to this particular park and I wasn't sure how my GPS would react, yourself, it might say you're on a certain pace for 800 meters and then eventually it catches up. So it was saying I was about 357, 358 around the first kilometer, and all of a sudden over the last 100 meters it dropped to 352. But I felt okay. Obviously hotter than I wanted. I always thought I'd run more like a robot and just keep my paces exact, 359, 359, but that's just not realistic. So what I learned from this run in particular was that I could go out hot and bank 8 to 10 seconds, and then as long as I hold on to my second kilometer about a 4 flat, I can then back off, and then I always have a little bit in the tank during the last kilometer. Unfortunately, during this run, I actually dropped my earphone. This is the first time I ran with music, which also seemed to help. I dropped an earphone, a wireless earphone, just before 2 kilometers. Had to break my stride to pick it up. Probably only slowed me down by 2 seconds. I still don't think I had the sub 20 in me that day, but I maybe could have got 2005, 2006. I'm not sure. But from that run, I learned that music is going to help. Typically in all my gym experience, powerlifting especially, in the past, if I want to lift heavy, if I want to perform, I need music. Music really drives me emotionally to perform when it comes to physical exertion. So I knew that, if I made a wee playlist of music that I like, that's going to keep me upbeat, that would help me. And I know I had a race strategy. So 1 week later, I knew it was going to be the same deal. On the Tuesday, I'm not telling anyone, I'm just going to turn up. It was a bit cooler. It was about 6 degrees cooler than the first attempt. It was raining, and I also think this helped keep me cool. And I knew then I'd go out hard. So I went out, I ran a 3:53 kilometer, had banked 7 seconds. Brilliant. My goal then was to hold the second kilometer as quickly to 4 flat as I could. I went 3:59. We've banked 8 seconds. Well on track. I then ran a 4:06 third kilometer. So at this point, I am still holding sub 4 average. My 4th kilometer, I knew I could still back off a wee bit. It was a 4:07. It was probably sitting about 4:12 for most of that. And my average dropped to 4:02. But I knew then I got to 3.8k and I just told myself, it's go time. You've worked so hard for this. And I just started ramping it up with 1.2k to go. I just pictured that I was running that final interval of an interval session, and I dropped that that 4th kilometer to, it was a 4:07. So I was sitting on, it was flickering between a 4:01 and a 4:02 average, hitting that 5th kilometer, and I just went for it. I think mentally seeing that my average was so close, I knew then all I had to do was fight, and it was a certainty. And I ran a 3:48 last kilometer. I gave it absolutely everything I had, and I ran 19 minutes and 52 seconds. It's a 3:58 average, and I was absolutely delighted. Everything finally came together. And yourself, if you've really trained hard for a goal, when you finally get there, it's honestly, it's one of the best feelings. And even if that's, it's just a goal. It's just a goal I set myself. It doesn't really matter if I ran under 20 minutes. Does it change the world? No, but for me, that was my physical performance goal of 2023. And to finally achieve it after all that hard work, it really meant a lot. It really keeps you on track. And I have those failures to thank for the eventual success. Would I have liked to have ran it first go? Yes. Was it actually a bit sweeter having failed twice before to eventually get there? Without a doubt. The point is, guys, we all have these goals. I'm sure many of you watching this, you are runners, you have goals. We don't always hit them when we would like to hit them. Things don't always go to plan, but you can always learn from these failures. I know it sounds quite philosophical, but that's literally what I did. I looked at my times, I looked at my splits, I looked at my heart rate and the stats afterwards. I tried my best to relate to how I felt at each portion of the 2 failures, and then it allowed me to devise a plan and ultimately execute off the back of that. So I hope you guys can learn something from this video. Leave a comment down below if you are planning a race, or if you've recently raced and you didn't hit your goal. Leave down below what you think you've learned from that and what you're going to do from now on moving forward in order to attempt that goal again, and this time hopefully achieve it. Thank you. Remember to drop a sub, I'd really appreciate it.